Hey guys, I'm Jet, the webmaster and founder of VampireFreaks, the largest social network for the Gothic industrial scene.
Do you guys remember the website called VampireFreaks? Before it became a clothing store that it is today, it was actually an underground social network intended for all the weirdos out there. Back in the 2000s, people who were a part of any industrial subculture did not really have a place that truly felt like home. So they would bounce from one website to another, trying to fit in spaces that were never really built for them. But VampireFreaks was different. It was not as polished as Facebook or as overwhelming as MySpace. Instead, it gave an outcast a platform where being different was not just accepted, but it was actually the entire point. On VampireFreaks, you could find just about anyone who didn't fit into the mainstream. Emos, goths, cyber kids, metalheads, you name it. But over the years, it also became a place where you could get molested or groomed in a heartbeat. And sadly, I'm not joking.
Do not webcam with me just so you can... Ew.
Eventually, the website became surrounded by rumors, countless controversy, and some genuinely disturbing headlines, giving it a reputation as one of the most dangerous corners of the niche internet. This is the disturbing world of VampireFreaks. With me, your one and only Eastern European underground nostalgia blueprint, Mr. Vitaly. Apparently, more than 50% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, and we're so close to 100k. It's my biggest goal to hit that milestone, so let's do it. VampireFreaks was created by the guy by the name Jed Bertelson in 1999. Just 1 year after I was born, that's crazy. He lived in New York City and had a degree in computer science. So that's how the idea of making a website came to life. At first, it began with a small number of forums dedicated to industrial music. However, by 2002, the website blew up like crazy.
I'm doing a video for VampireFreaks, but it's a really cool website. It's better than Facebook, Twitter, all of that.
Just like most social networks back in the day, VF had all the usual stuff you would expect. Forums, chat rooms, private messages, and user profiles. But it also had some special features that made it feel like its own little universe. There were sections for music, personal journals, events, and even so-called cults, or groups if you will, built around mutual interests, subcultures, or even just totally random stuff. And just like on MySpace, user popularity was a huge part of the experience. Members could rate each other and compete for visibility. How popular were you? How attractive, sexy and cool? The website practically turned social status into Hunger Games. In fact, the homepage even featured those sections called Top Girls and Top Boys, showcasing users who had received the highest ratings from other members. You guys, anyone could visit your profile and rate you from 1 to 10. That is crazy. VampireFreaks walked in so your self-esteem could run. No wonder why the online bullying was at its peak at the time. You think I'm afraid of your dislikes on my videos? To be honest, it's kind of impossible to imagine a major social network doing something like this today. Shit like that would not fly at this day and age. But to be fair, the only difference is that nowadays those rankings are usually hidden behind the algorithm. But on VF, it was all out in the open. You didn't have to guess how people saw you. The website made it pretty clear. But anyways, I wanna get back to the cult section and break it down for you. By 2010, the largest cult on the website was dedicated to, attention, My Chemical Romance, which was not surprising if you ask me. At that time, the band had become one of the biggest names in the alt music. When I was a young boy. But the second largest cult was dedicated to emo hair. The emos dominated the website. Emo takeover. We're not your average beauty cult. Hate us, love us, we don't give a fuck. The second largest cult on VF.
Sort of got taken over by the whole emo thing. There was a lot of emo and scene crap. Shit ton of emos just kind of flew the f*** in to VampireFreaks.
Now, let's talk about the music aspect of the website, which was one of the most important ones. VampireFreaks was not just a place where people talked about music, it was actually one of the biggest outlets for discovering it. Bands could create official profiles and interact directly with their fanbase. For many independent musicians, VF was one of the few places where they could reach thousands of people who were actually interested in that type of music. Some of the scene's biggest names became closely associated with the website.
My name is Chibi and I am the singer for the Birthday Massacre.
The band built a huge following on there. Their heavy music and gothic visuals perfectly fit into the website aesthetic. The band even gave countless exclusive interviews to VampireFreaks, which only proves how connected they were to the community.
Interview for VampireFreaks.com with the Birthday Massacre.
Another artist who became incredibly popular on the website was Emily Autumn. You guys, her persona is so fascinating to me.
When it's dark outside, I have to run and hide.
Saying that she stood out from almost everyone else at the time would be an understatement of the century. She built her entire brand with those Victorian-inspired outfits, bright red hair and electric violin. So it didn't take long until her music and pictures started appearing all over VampireFreaks.
Here we have Emily Autumn at Irving Plaza in New York City.
Did you throw down?
But it didn't stop there, my legends. Even more established bands also had a strong presence on VF. Slipknot, Him, Mindless Self-Indulgence, AFI, Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson and many more. In a way, VF functioned like an entire music ecosystem, if you will. You could discover a band on someone's profile, click on their page, listen to their songs, buy tickets to an upcoming show, and then spend the next 3 hours discussing the band on forums. That is something we've actually lost in the modern internet. Nowadays, music discovery is controlled by algorithms trying to predict what you will like next. And back then, it was driven by people, by yourself. Someone with a ridiculously customized profile would text you and be like, "Yo, you have to hear this band." And that's exactly how your next favorite artist was found. But anyways, I digress. I'm just so passionate about the music topic, as you can see. By the end of 2010, VampireFreaks had more than 1,300,000 members. It may sound like not a lot on the global scale of things, but considering that it was mostly the network for misfits and the outcast, the number is actually quite impressive.
So this is my proof video. Kerosene X Heart at VampireFreaks.com.
Hi, people on Vampire Freaks!
Vampire Freak hotties!
I only have one VampireFreaks account. Only one.
In a way, the website was also designed to be somewhat dating platform. Members could search for people who were online at the moment, lived nearby, or had the same interests. There were plenty of filters that made it so easy to find the type of people that you need.
Are you watching the video without liking it again? I caught you red-handed.
Another thing people still talk about is the website's moderation, or should I say, the lack of it. The thing is, regular moderators could not take action against premium members. Yes, they were premium memberships, for a specific monthly fee, obviously. They had to pay for the hosting somehow. But if a paying user broke the rules, only the website administrator could do that. And to some of you, it might not sound like a huge problem, but in reality, it gave paying members an extra layer of protection and made it much harder to hold them accountable for their shady wrongdoings.
People on here don't know how to read. Do not webcam with me just so you can...
Ew.
Or try and get me to remove clothing. It's not gonna happen, and it pisses me off.
So yeah, moderation was either inconsistent or completely absent. And I think you can imagine what happened next. When you combine thousands of teenagers, anonymous messaging and non-existent moderation, the countless PDF files were able to feel way too comfortable on there, let me tell you. With grooming allegations appearing again and again in discussions about the platform. Every time I made an account, I would always encounter some racist or an inbox full of creeps who wanted to take the conversation to another messaging app, said one former user. But some of the things that started on VampireFreaks went far beyond online drama. One of the most notorious examples came in 2006, after the incident in Dawson College in Montreal.
15 years since the Dawson College in Montreal.
We saw this guy, really goth looking, long trench coat.
A lone gunman started outside the school at 12:41 p.m. before entering the atrium.
The gunman's name was Kimveer Gill, and he was a very active user of VampireFreaks, under the nickname Fatality666. He was an unemployed loner who lived in his parents' basement. You guys, I suggest that we go through his page together, cause it's very dark. His name is Strange. You will come to know him as the Angel of Death. I guess I'm not a people person. I've met a handful of people in my life who are decent, but the vast majority are worthless, betraying, lying, deceptive mother. As you can see, he clearly was angry at the entire world. And by the way, he was a premium member. School sucks, work sucks, life sucks, what else can I say? Metal and goth kick ass. Life is like a video game, you gotta die sometime. You guys, I also wanna bring your attention to this. Remember, back in the day, you could take those random online quizzes for different topics. You take a quiz and then post the result on your page, and Kimveer was no exception. For example, in a quiz, how evil are you? His result is, you're pure evil. Your mere presence strikes fear into the hearts of everyone around you. You are the definition of evil. Another one. Which famous dictator are you? You see the result yourself. No wonder why, I guess.
You saw this guy take a rifle out of his trunk.
Yeah, me and my friend Adam were walking down the street off to the school, and we saw this guy, really goth-looking, long trench coat. He looked really suspicious, and he was going towards his trunk. And, well, we didn't really think much of it, but then when we saw him take the rifle out of his trunk. But when we were looking back, he looked a little more suspicious. So just to be safe, right? 2 seconds after that, he entered, looked at us right in the eyes, 5 feet away from us.
The tragedy claimed the life of 18-year-old student Anastasia D'Souza. 19 other people were injured. Kimveer later himself, after being confronted by police. The tragedy turned attention to his online footprint, where investigators discovered years of disturbing posts and photographs, showcasing his declining mental state. And as you can imagine, just overnight, millions of people who never even heard of VampireFreaks suddenly associated the website with the tragedy. It now had a very dark reputation and perception. That same year, in 2006, the website was linked to another horrific crime case. That was also in Canada, but this time in Medicine Hat. One of the involved people was a 12-year-old girl by the name Jasmine Richardson. Yes, you guys, a 12-year-old, who was an active VampireFreaks user. She filled her profile with a very dark imagery, as well as pictures in gothic makeup. In the heroes category, she put Jeffrey Dahmer and Marilyn Manson. Well, that explains everything. It wasn't long until she met her future boyfriend on the website, a 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke, who claimed to be, attention, a 300-year-old werewolf. It just screams unemployed to me. Dude, you're not a werewolf, you're a PDF. And apparently, that was a love from the first message, so eventually he became her boyfriend. Her parents were against the relationship, obviously, due to an inappropriate age difference. So when they took away her internet access, the couple still continued communicating and eventually came up with a plan to get rid of all the people standing in their way, meaning her parents and her 8-year-old brother. You guys, that's f***ing crazy. In one of the messages, Jasmine said the following: "I miss you more than unaliving people. Can we get together and unalive people?" Just so you know, Runaway Devil is also her nickname. Rar, I hate them, so I have this plan. It begins with me them and ends with me living with you. In this context, Rar is diabolical. And Jeremy responds: "Well, I love your plan, but we need to get a little more creative with like details and stuff." And the rest was history. These messages later became key evidence in one of Canada's most shocking crime cases. Once again, news headlines had another excuse to drag VampireFreaks back into the headlines. To general public, it was no longer just a small corner of the internet for outsiders. It was now such an easy villain. And guess what? That same year in 2006, VampireFreaks was in the news once again. A 23-year-old man, described as a goth from New York, was arrested after showing up at the cemetery expecting to do inappropriate things with a he met on VF. You guys, enough of the internet for today. No wonder why it had such nasty reputation. And by the way, during all this craziness, there was this one name that kept showing up over and over again: Marilyn Manson. He was kind of a punching bag in all of this, for the lack of a better word. Back then, he was an epitome of a satanic musician, and his lyrics would appear in all the profile descriptions of those teenagers, as well as his pictures. He was probably the #1 profile picture choice. So whenever a crime involving the website made national news, Manson's name was not far behind. In fact, he was one of the first people to get blamed. Just to make it very clear, Manson is no saint and he's so far from being innocent. But back then, general public was painting him as some fucking satanic villain, repeating the same accusations that had followed him since Columbine. And for the most part, that is just a stereotype. If someone noticed unusual style and Manson lyrics on the profile, they immediately assumed the worst. But for most users, it was simply self-expression, not a manifest for violence. I offer my condolences to the victims and their families. Those are really tragic events, said the founder of the website. However, we do not condone or influence this type of behavior in any way. Just because someone goes around doing crazy things and happens to be a member of VampireFreaks does not mean that this website has influenced them to do such horrible thing. By the mid-2010s, the website's popularity began to fade. That was when more traditional social media came around. And by 2020, VampireFreaks officially shut down as social network and transformed into what it remains today:
a clothing store.
Nowadays, it's easy to remember the website for the crazy stories and disturbing headlines, and to some extent, it's understandable. But if you ask people who actually used it, that is usually not what they remember. They remember spending hours HTML coding the perfect profile, finding a band that would later become their favorite, and connecting to people within the same subculture. VampireFreaks captured something we've almost completely lost nowadays: a sense of underground community that we all would appreciate during such dark times. Don't forget to support your local nostalgia channel. Behind the scenes, I've been working so hard on my new show that is going to come out in August, and you guys are not ready, let me tell you. Vitalyspace is officially bringing back the 2000s MTV, so wait for it. Follow me on Instagram, book me on Cameo, and remember, your ex is effing toxic. The best way to make them bitter is to become successful. Love you guys!